Hey guys, it's me and today I'm here with my September mid-month wrap-up. Already more than halfway through the month. So I thought I would talk to you about all the books that I read in the first half of the month. I read 6 books, which is very impressive, so go me. It's also Becca's Bookathon, so I have been doing reading vlogs for that every single week. Those are on my channel, go check them out. The first 2 are up. And yeah, so you can know more of my thoughts on these books in real time. Do I have anything else to say for the intro? I don't think so. So let's just get started. The first book I read in the month of September is The Dishonored Viscount by Sophie Barnes, which I give 2 out of 5 stars, and it's a galley guy from Night Galley. This is a historical romance novel about a girl who has the troubles with her vision all her life, and she's been getting like these treatments that are temporary solutions but are like very painful, and she's kind of like sick and tired of undergoing those. And then one day she meets this guy who used to be a viscount, but his father got put on trial for murder and was found guilty, so like he's been stripped of his title, and like so the whole family has been disgraced. So even though like this guy used to be like super popular in society, now it's like avoid him, and he has become an eye surgeon, and the two meet and he's like, hey, I have a solution that is a bit more permanent and can help you out in the longer term. And she wants to do it, but her father refuses because of the guy, but she ends up winning away and doing it anyway. And yeah, she and this guy end up forming a connection and a romance, obviously. And yeah, this book I quite liked, but I just overall just had some problems with it. Like, I don't know, I feel like the 2 characters like very quickly like fell in love, like had that attraction. I was immediately like, I'm gonna die for you. But then like it took such a long time for them to even like talk about their feelings, which was annoying. Because I feel like if you're gonna do insta love, like you don't have to like get together immediately, but at least like talk about your attraction a little bit, of like, I don't know, discuss it, rather than just like leaving me with nothing for like most of the book. I also just feel like the characters sometimes feel a little bit flat. I feel like overall I never really got like any progression for them, I guess. I don't know, I feel like there should have been like a little bit more growth there as well. I don't know, I just had some problems with that. But I read this in like 1 day, so it wasn't that terribly. I flew through it. I had some fun reading it. There's a lot of attention to the topic of like eye surgery and like blindness and stuff like that during this time period, which I think the author like dealt with very well, and like it was discussed in an interesting manner, so I liked the inclusion of that. And yeah, then the next book I read is A Spot of Trouble by Teri Wilson, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars as well, and is another galley guy from Night Galley. This is a adult contemporary romance which follows this guy who has just moved to like a small town. He used to work in the Chicago Fire Department, and something happened there, and he just wants to have like a less riskful job. Like he still works in a fire department, but like as an office job, just really nothing like going in the line of duty or like something. I don't know the right words. Jay has also moved to a small town just because he needs like a change of pace, just in general. And on his first day there, he's walking his dog on the dog beach that they have at this town, and he gets stopped by this woman who claims that he has stolen her dog, but that's not the case. They just have 2 dogs that look very similar. From then on out is just kind of like I don't want to say enemies to lovers, because technically that's not the truth. There's like other names for it, like rivals to lovers, I guess this is more like, or just like I'm annoyed with you to lovers, because they never truly hate each other. But turns out like this woman is the daughter of like the police chief, and her whole family is like kind of working in the police department. And this town just has like this huge rivalry between the fire department and police department, which outs themselves during the summer, which it is now, during the softball tournament that the 2 departments have. And the male main character like used to be like pretty big in like the college baseball world, so that even causes more traction between them. And yeah, Honestly, this was fun, and again, this one that I read pretty quickly, so I can't complain too much, and I thought it did have some cute moments. I felt the tension between the two characters. I liked the chemistry between them. I love the dogs. Like, just look at the cover, like they're like that the entire book. It's so good. I like the small town setting. I really like the different characters that you have in a small town setting, how they were done in this book. I loved the summery vibes of it all. I just kind of had a problem with, like, they're rivals, and now they're dating. Like, that's like, not they're dating, like they're falling for each other, and I never really understood that rivalry. I just feel like, first of all, there's like just the two main characters like not liking each other, besides just like the department rivalry they have, which I thought was all for like dumb reasons. That's mainly comes from the female main character just being absolutely immature and annoying, and I just sometimes was like, just think for like 5 seconds and this whole thing would be solved, but like she didn't do that. And then on top of that, you also have the rivalry between the two departments that just didn't make sense to me. First of all, because we aren't given the reason for it until like the very end, and I'm just like, if you want to make me to buy a rivalry, like explain to me why, like from the beginning, because otherwise I won't be interested in it. But we only get the explanation at the end, and it went so lackluster. I was just like, really, this is the reason why you've been fighting? Great, that doesn't make sense. So yeah, that just took away from my enjoyment in the book overall. Then the next book I read is Sadie by Courtney Summers, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars to. This book follows a podcast, and the like maker of this podcast has, well, technically it's like a podcast that like talks about like small towns, and like one of the people working for this podcast like goes to the small town and hears about this murder that just happened of a girl, a teenage girl, and nobody knows exactly what happened. And then he talks to some people kind of just to like work on this podcast, and then kind of brushes it off. And a year later, like around a year later, he gets a call from someone he talked to in a small town, and it's like, hey, the big sister of the child that died a year ago has gone missing, and we need, like, I want you to help me try to solve this mystery, because I can't handle 2 people being dead, like 2 dead girls. I can't handle that. So the maker of this podcast goes back to the small town to try and figure out what happened to Sadie, and then we follow a second perspective, which is Sadie herself, as she runs away from home and goes on a mission to find the man who she believed killed her sister and enact revenge on him. And yeah, I like, this is one of the most hyped books that BookTube has ever seen, and still is getting so many good reviews, especially the audiobook, which I didn't listen to. Can't handle audiobooks. My attention span is just like too short for that. I don't know, I can do it. But I saw this in a store recently, I bought it, and now I read it, and I do have to say, I get the hype, but for me personally, it wasn't like a perfect book. I did have some minor annoyances with it, and one of the main ones is that there's a lot of like hard, difficult topics dealt with in this book, which content warning is always in the description in my wrap-ups, so definitely go check that out if you need to read, because this one has some heavy ones, so definitely go check that out if you want to read this. But I feel like for like a big chunk of the book, some of these things were just like alluded to. I was just like, you know, I have a feeling it's this thing, but I'm not entirely sure, because the way you're alluding to things, it also could be something different, and I'm just reading into things wrong or something, and it took a long time for that to be like confirmed, I guess. And I would have liked that a little bit earlier on, to just, I don't know, feel more of what's going on, I guess. I don't really know how to explain this. And yeah, but for the rest, I did quite enjoy this. Is the one word, because again, it deals with a lot of like sensitive, like difficult subject matter, so like I don't know if you can truly like have a good time reading this book, but it was a really well-crafted book. I really liked whenever we switched between perspectives of Sadie and the podcast. I think that was all done well. The podcast starts like 3 months after Sadie goes missing, I believe, so we're kind of like following Sadie and then like discovering different things as they like try to follow her path, and I think that's very interesting. I also think it's interesting in the podcast to learn about Sadie through like the people she knew and not necessarily about herself, because we do like learn things about Sadie in her own perspective. But I think it's interesting to then go back to the podcast and hear like people who knew her talk about her and have like more of like the complete picture, I guess. And another thing I really liked in Liz was how like most of the characters that are introduced in the story, we just see how they relate to Sadie's story and nothing else. But I feel like we still get like a really great sense of who those characters are, so I like appreciated that. There's like, technically this is a mystery, but I feel like the mystery element is so like small throughout it. It is like the big thing throughout this whole thing, but I feel like it isn't the major thing. The major thing is just like Sadie on her own journey. And I don't know, I really like that as someone who isn't the biggest fan of mysteries, but like if you love mysteries, go into that knowing it. Also know that the ending is very open-ended, and I mean there are some threads that I would have liked to be a little bit neatly tied up, but overall I think the open ending was the right way to go with this book, because I feel like, I don't know, it just leaves a sense of like hope in a bit. Like it's bittersweet in a way, the fact that it's an open ending. The next book I read in this month is You'd Be Home Now by Kathleen Glasgow, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars to, and it's a galley got to galley. This is hard to explain. Basically, at the start of the book, we enter with a girl waking up in a hospital, and like she's been in a car crash, and she learns that there were like 3 other people in the car crash. One who was driving has been arrested and has gone to juvie. Then her brother had an overdoses while they were in a car, so he is now in rehab, and then the other girl that was in a car with them died during the accident. And then we kind of deal with that for a little bit, and then we skip forward a couple of months, and it's the first day of school, and her brother is back from rehab, and they both like have to go back to school, and it's in the small town where everybody like knew this girl had died and like very much loved her. Like she was one of the popular kids, and everyone is like kind of taking out their anger about the situation on our main character and her brother, even though like neither of them were behind the steering wheel, neither of them could control what happened during the accident, but like they are very much being blamed for what happened. And it's kind of our main character like dealing with that pressure from like the people around her, as well as dealing with her brother's sobriety and like her like kind of feeling responsible for it. And yeah, I think this was a very interesting book. This deals very heavily with drug addiction, so if you can handle reading about the topic, like skip out on this book. But for the rest, I really liked it. In the beginning, I thought it was, as it starts off with like very short chapters. Like honestly, like I read a galley of it, so I can't tell, but like in a physical book, it'll probably be like 1 or 2 pages, the first couple of chapters. And then once we get like the point where like school is starting and the brother's back from rehab, we get like normal length chapters. And I felt like those short chapters were very disorienting for me in a bit, and I was very like confused about what's happening and stuff. And I do think it was like a purposeful writing decision, but like I was just in the beginning, I was like, this is so hard to grasp. And that's also something you'll hear me talk about if you watch the vlogs, that when I first started this, I was like confused, I didn't really know what was going on, and I wasn't expecting for me to like it as much as I ended up doing, because I feel like once you get like this through this properly length chapters, you very easily like start to understand what's going on without ever having like this info dumping moment. You start to understand, you start to like get into this character, like her problems, and like understanding her, and like as well as like the side characters, and that ends up being a lot more that's going on. And I feel like everything is tackled very realistically and very well. I really like the side characters. Like I said, I thought everything was just very realistic, and I like the growth characters went through, and I cried at the end. Like I sobbed. So yeah, I'd highly recommend this book, and I want to read more of Kathleen Glasgow's books in the future. Ooh, we have arrived at the second to last book, and that's World of Fools by Leigh Bardugo, which I gave 2 out of 5 stars to. This is the second book in the King of Scars duology, which is a spin-off series of both Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows. So this is like the 3rd series in English. I've actually have to read the previous as well. I'm not explaining much about this plot because I can't without spoilers. All you should know is that it follows Nikolai, Zoya, and Nina in their own adventures, and I don't like it. I know this duology isn't as popular as the other 2 series, so I know I'm not the only one that isn't liking this as much, but still I'm always so disappointed by this, because Nikolai and Nina were like two of my favorite characters from like the respective series. To be completely honest, I love every single one of the crows, but like Nikolai is my favorite from the Shadow and Bone trilogy. Nina is part of this crow, so like of course I love her. And then Zoya, I didn't really remember that much from the original trilogy, but like reading these two books, like I also really love her. So you should think I should also love the zoology because I love the main characters in it, but I don't. I think the plot is very boring. I don't know if that makes sense, because I do think there's interesting things that are at the core of these storylines, but the way they're executed just doesn't work for me, and I'm bored with the entire thing. The only time that I feel joy is when we're just like spending time with our characters. Like those are fantastic moments, love those. And I wasn't really enjoying this. And in the second half, two different perspectives get introduced, and like I didn't care for those characters at all. So that, plus the fact that I also didn't care about the plot that was going on with them at all, just like with the characters I did like, that was just a slog to get through, so difficult. But then like the very end is so good, like oh my god, like the last bit, oh so good, and it plays into every character's strength so well, and it wraps up these plot lines so well, and everything is so satisfying. Even took me by surprise at some points. I was like, okay, I didn't see this coming, but that's absolutely the perfect outcome for the situation. I love it, well done. And I think why I loved the ending so much, which is also like bumped it up a star, because this was a 2-star for like most of the book, and then an ending bumped it up to 3-star. And like most of the reason why I love it so much is because it just gives that satisfying end to those characters, and the fact that I love these 3 characters so much, that just made the ending feel more satisfying, I guess, for me. And yeah, last book for today. Whew, I haven't filmed in a while besides like the vlogging, so I'm like, I'm out of practice. It's difficult to talk for this long. Last book for today is What Once Was Mine by Liz Braswell, which gave 4 to 5 stars to, and it's another gal I got from NetGalley. This is one of the Twisted Tales series. It is based on Tangled, and basically I gave like a long description on my blog. I'm not gonna do that here, but basically we have Rapunzel's mother. When she's sick in the movie, she has like the Sundrop flower, and this has the Moondrop flower by accident, and Rapunzel ends up having different powers. And it outs itself first when she's a baby, and she kills a maid by accident, and then she's sent away to Mother Gothel, because like, Mother Gothel's like, hey, I can help her like control these powers, I guess. I can try. The king and the queen pretend to the rest of the kingdom that Rapunzel has passed away, and yeah, she's raised by Mother Gothel, not well. She goes out on her 19th birthday, it is in this, and shit happens. I don't want to give a long explanation, because I think like for people who love Tangled, like this is gonna be repetitive, but oh well. I really like this novel. I think I read this in like one sitting, because I was just so addicted to it, and it's a long book, and I flew through it, and I had so much fun while reading it. It's not perfect. My main problems with this is the characters. I feel like they were very one-dimensional, and like understandable for a Disney movie, but like I want more depth and growth of my characters in books. Just my personal preference. I am a character-based reader. I love characters mainly, Rule of Wolves being a great example of that. Then also the romance between Rapunzel and Flynn was cute. They had cute moments, but I feel like it came out of nowhere in a way. I feel like it could have been developed a little bit better. Again, acceptable for Disney movies, want something better in my books. But for the rest, I thought this was a lot of fun. I really like that it's focusing more on magic, and like Rapunzel just like figuring out her magic and how it worked and everything. I really like that. I really loved the setting of this book. I feel like it was very well done, and I really, just the atmosphere of it, I really liked. I could like very easily picture everything from like the background, you know, which isn't like very descriptive, but just like you get the vibe of everything very well throughout the book, and it just, I don't know, paints a very clear picture in your mind. I think there was also a very great friendship at the center of this book that I really liked. I really liked the story overall. It had a great sense of adventure in it, but I also had that moment to like teach the magic. It is darker, and I liked it. This felt more like a really like a fantasy rather than a fairy tale. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone besides me, because fairy tales are also fantasy, but like, I don't know. Those are all the books I read in the first half of September. The second half was gonna be different. I can already tell you that because I'm starting school soon, so my reading pace should go down a little, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books or you thought of them as well as some of the books you read in the first half of September, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. Good.
Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated? Should've played